guys. I'm so glad you made it back to the Hallmarkies podcast, listening to Chesapeake Chats. I'm your host, Kari, and Kaycee is here with me tonight. I'm so glad to have you back, Kaycee.
Yay! I'm so glad to be back, you guys. And what's up, Chesapeakes? I kind of actually love that more than Chessies. I'm not gonna lie.
I know Chesapeakes is really fun. Is it catching on? I mean, I think Megan Ori wanted it to. She had this push of Chesapeakes, but I'm not sure if it's catching.
I don't know. I think people are, listen, we're 5 years into this. We're invested in the Chessies, but
yeah, we are.
I am here for
Chessies.
Chesapeakes. You know what though? Here's the thing though. Any of you cast people on the Chesapeake Shores that watch this, I will make you a Chesapeake's shirt if you come on our podcast.
That is great. So calling all cast members, come and get the coveted Chesapeake's shirt that Kaycee will make you if you're on this podcast. We would love to have guests on the podcast. That would be amazing. Real quick though, we are 5 episodes into season 5 of Chesapeake Shores. Season 5 is making Chessie out of all of us, I think. That is what I think. Season 5 is so strong. I would hesitate to find someone who did not like season 5 at this point. It is so good.
You guys, this is how you write a series.
Yes.
I mean, we will get into this, but episode 5 specifically. Now, I know they were all like, episode 3, it's the best one. It's the best one. It was great. I loved it. I was like, oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I see you. But episode 4, I was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm still here. I'm still engaged. But episode 5, I was like, flabbergasted.
It just brought such deep storylines, so much depth to these characters we already know and love. I'm really excited to talk about episode 5 specifically. It is jam-packed. But first, we do want to get in and recap episode 4. It's called Happy Trails. It was just a really solid episode to move the season along, storylines along, and still engaging, still kind of wonderful. But the title Happy Trails, I mean, it probably mostly alludes to Mick and Thomas's big hike on the Appalachian Trail or wherever they went.
Mm-hmm.
And yes. What did you think of that storyline, Kaycee? The Mick and Thomas going on a hike, going on an adventure at their age.
Okay, so when I saw the previews for it, I was like, oh my word, we cannot take Gregory Harrison on a hike because he almost dies in Lost Without You, signed, sealed, delivered with Oliver when he goes on that hike. And then we see him tumbling down the mountain and I'm all like, oh my goodness, Gregory Harrison, what are we doing to this man?
Yeah.
And so when it turned out not to be anything, I was slightly disappointed because, I like the melodrama, but then at the same time, they really brought the comedy with the brothers.
See, that's the thing. I'm here for the comedy. I was kind of like, oh my gosh, these ads, like the previews for it, are so melodramatic, but really they end up being these wonderful comedic moments. Like Thomas fell down the mountain and right away Mick fell right after him. It was so funny.
It was hilarious. And the banter back and forth with the brothers, that was something that we've been missing because they were at such odds with each other for such a long time. And so I'm actually glad they didn't go the whole melodramatic way. I'm really glad they did the comedy.
Yeah.
And we see the younger 2 brothers and they're all like, hey, what's up? Okay. And then they help them out at the end. But I really liked that. I liked seeing the side of Mick and Thomas.
Yeah.
And that they really do care about each other, especially after Mick calls him Tommy. And I was like, oh,
he calls him Tommy. And they really talk a lot about their history because what they're doing is they're doing this trail that they did when they were younger, and they're trying to find this exact rock to recreate this picture, which I thought was just really kind of cute. And they talk about their past. They talk about their dad, who really is a very mysterious O'Brien. We don't hear much about Charlie, except that he's passed and except that people try to honor Charlie's memory every once in a while, but he sounded tough. He really sounded like a tough dad.
Yeah. And that's hard when you have, because it's just the two brothers that we
Mhm.
know of. I mean, it's Hallmark. A
Right.
mysterious sister could pop up next season.
Yeah.
But with two brothers, so they're the same gender, they're both competing for their father's attention. Their
Yeah.
father is very hard on them in very differing ways.
Yeah.
So it causes that strife, because in one area where he's not hard on Thomas, he's hard on Mick, and then vice
Right.
versa. And so that's hard. It's hard to always
Yeah.
be like trying to
Yeah.
please a parent, especially when you're competing against a sibling of the same gender. Like,
Yeah.
it was hard enough with me and my brother, but I don't know. I don't know what it would be like having a sister, and
Yeah. Well, I have three sisters, and it was a big enough family, a big enough spread that I never felt like I was kind of pitted against one, as far as
Mhm,
like to compete with or compared how my parents treated them and stuff like that. So a bigger family helps that. I'm not sure if that just the two brothers. I mean, that seemed to
mhm,
be a kind of a volatile kind of situation and sometimes for them growing up.
mhm.
But and then of course we see them fighting in the seasons up, you know, preceding this. So I'm really glad that they had such a moment of bonding. This episode
Mhm.
was all about them bonding. They're okay. They fall down this mountainside, but they're okay. They're sore, they're stiff, but they make it to this rock and take a picture. And so it's really just a precious kind of sequence of scenes for these two men.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So then, okay, let's move on to Connor. Now, Connor, on the heels of episode 3, which he was the superstar in episode 3, coming in court and saving the day. Now we find him, poor guy, totally paranoid at work now. Totally
Mhm.
paranoid. Because his firm is, representing Dilfer, who's suing his father. So they're trying to protect him and tell him that there's a firewall up. You're not going to be involved in this at all. But he's paranoid. He's suspicious about his office. Is it being broken into? Is his drawer being broken into? And so he has his suspicions. And then Keller, his friend, the paralegal, kind of confirms those suspicions in a very
Mhm.
lawyery type of way. It's really kind of funny how
Yeah.
he's like, "What are you saying?" She goes, "Oh, I'm not saying anything, but if I were you, I would," like she was
Yeah.
really trying to back away from being, you know,
Caught in the
quoted.
middle. Yeah, or
Yeah,
quoted. She's smart. She is very smart, because she's got to she really played her cards right,
yeah,
because she doesn't know Connor that well. I've only met, like, 3 minutes ago.
yeah.
And so like there's still that, there's a trust that needs to be built.
Mhm,
And then she also knows that Connor may not exactly trust her yet
mhm.
too. So she was really playing those cards really well, not to be so upfront about it, but to be
Yeah,
like, hey,
yeah.
just
It's
saying.
it was interesting because what you said, they don't know each other well, and I think I'm prone to jump in on her and say, "Yes, she's awesome, she's great." But it was these last 2 episode that made me go, "She's great, but I wonder where her loyalties lie." Like,
Hmm.
it's so interesting to me that she was helping him out in a subtle way, but I wonder about her, like, can we trust her? Do you feel like we can
Oh,
trust her?
I mean, I feel like we can trust her,
Yeah,
because she could have just turned on Connor and lied.
yeah, yeah. What I would like to see happen, I would like to see their relationship develop more and more and more, like to become that team, like a legal team together. I think they would be
Hmm.
really strong in the courtroom. That would be fun.
Yes, I would be here for it.
I'd be here for it.
100%.
Yeah. So anyway,
100.
he takes his concerns to Abby because he's so concerned about his dad and this Dilfer case. And I loved seeing him and Abby together.
That is a duo that we never really see a lot of, and I
Oh,
love it. I love, love, love it.
yeah.
We also find out that Connor's 28.
We find out he's 28 because his birthday is March 11th, and that was a big deal. So talk about that. Like, what did they find? Like, he goes to Abby, and how did we find out he was 28?
Yeah, so they're searching through all of these like documents, trying to find something that can exonerate their father. And they find these documents that Dilfer had signed, or Dilfer had forged Mick's signature on. And there's no way that he could have done that because they were all at Disney.
They were at Disney World, because Connor totally remembers on this day, my birthday in 1999, we were at Disney World. They found a picture to prove it. It's like, Dad was not here. He could not have signed it. So I thought that was awesome sleuthing on their part.
Oh, absolutely. I was like, okay, yes.
Yeah.
When that revelation happened, I was like, oh my goodness. Now this is how we tell a law story.
Yes.
This is how we do it. And I know this is totally off the line here, but Thief Sutton also does Darrow and Darrow, which happens to be my favorite. And so that was really showcased here a little bit in a very like minor way. But I was like, okay, this is how we're like building this storyline. This is how we are solving these mysteries. We're not doing this whole like wondering what's going to happen and then like it gets solved in 2 seconds. Like this whole Connor thing was his storyline has been slowly rolled out through the last 5 episodes, and it's had a purpose. That's another thing that I've really liked about his storyline. Like, he came in and everybody was all like, oh, you know, junior associate, and then he proves himself, and then they're like, oh yeah, let's trust, like, you know, he's great, let's manipulate him and whatever. And so, you know, little did they know he's actually way smarter than you give him credit for. So like I love the fact that they are building it. They're building it and they're doing it so well.
That this storyline of his in season 5 is more interesting than anything he's ever done in the whole series of Chesapeake Shores.
I mean, to be honest with you, the last 4 seasons, it's been like this midlife crisis for Connor. And like, I don't know what I want to do. Do I want to work for my uncle? Do I want to work for a big firm? I'm not happy at the big firm. I'm going to work for my uncle. I'm going to blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, always so 4 years of this. And now I'm like, this is what we need.
This is what we need. We need Connor in the courtroom. We need Connor in the file room searching for evidence. We need Connor, you know, teaming up with Abby and Mick about solving things. I mean, he's really a fascinating character this season, and I love watching him. He's dynamic on the screen.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, Abby and Connor, they have this great banter, this bro-sis banter that never leaves. They're professionals, they're adults, but they still tease each other, and it's really, really sweet to see. I love that. But hey, Abby is on a journey still, and it's really key that the writers don't let us forget this, that she is on a recovery kind of journey from this long history and relationship with Trace. She's still working things out. I like that they haven't said she's just fine. She's okay. She's fine. Let's move on. Like, this season, she was working things out. And this episode specifically, she takes an adult Taekwondo class. Which,
yes.
She works out her anger and she punches the bag, and she's healing. She's still healing.
Yes, that scene made me laugh because she goes to punch. She's like, all right. And she's like, boink. The teacher's all like,
anything.
I know. And then the teacher's all like, come on, we know you got something in there. And she just, man, that scene when she starts just going to town, I was like,
she's got some, you know, she's been through it in her life with divorce and her work, and she was put on trial, you know, for all of that, and then let alone Trace and these girls she's raising. She's a strong character, and I think it's strength in her that's pursuing this therapy, this Taekwondo therapy really is what it is, this healing, and she's just doing so great.
Yeah. So, and it's a good way to get that energy out.
Yeah, get it out.
I mean, she's a runner. We know that. So that is, for people who run, they all tell me like it's such a great way to
Right? They
connect
tell
with
me, I
yourself.
hear.
I hear, such a great thing to do, release the emotion. But
Right.
I tell you what, I took kickboxing for like 6 months, and now that is a good way to get out some
Yes.
feelings.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Well, Bree wasn't in this episode, really.
Mm-hmm.
Evan was hardly in the episode. He was just seen on a treadmill, like you reminded me, on a treadmill talking to Abby on the phone. But we do have Kevin introducing a really important storyline at the firehouse with the chief, or captain. Captain is
Mm-hmm.
what they call him. The captain is making small mistakes here and there, and it's really implying heavily that he's starting to have memory lapses, which is
Mm-hmm.
dangerous for everybody at the firehouse and the
Yeah, he could
community.
have killed him with the chili.
Yeah, the chili just tasted bad, but that it could be far worse. So Kevin's just on this little relationship with his chief who he loves so much. But
Mm-hmm.
um that was Kevin, really. I mean, who else? Who else do we finish up with here? David and Jess. What about David and Jess?
They're adorable. That was a fun little storyline for them too. Just having all these random, what was it again? Snallygaster
The
folks.
Snallygasters. Yeah. So like they're hosting this group who's looking for basically the Bigfoot of the Northeast is what I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking.
Yeah.
These Snallygasters. And they talk about, do you believe in it? Do you believe in the Snallygaster? And David's kind of incredulous. And she says, did you ever believe in anything that you couldn't see? And he says, oh, the tooth fairy. And he was like, I remember waking up to that $100 bill under my pillow. And she was like, okay, yeah, we've lost me. That was not my experience growing up. $100 bill.
That whole storyline with Justin David and the Snallygasters was very Stars Hollow-ish. Very
Yeah, it
Gilmore
was.
Girls.
It
Yeah.
was a
Like you got
silly.
the inn, you got this weird group of folks coming in
Yeah.
looking for the Bigfoot of the Northeast, the Snallygaster. You have the lanterns and the lights and everything. It was
Yeah.
very Stars Hollow.
And what Stars Hollow, or what Gilmore Girls did well, is that not every scene and every person needs to be going through this dramatic life crisis. You
Mm-hmm.
have to have the silly along with the drama,
Yeah.
because that kind of keeps us entertained. It keeps us, our heart there and loving what's going on at the end
Mm-hmm.
with Jess and
Yeah.
David.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, I liked this episode a lot. Like I said, it just kind of kept things going, kept storylines going in a very interesting way.
Mm-hmm.
Connor, of course, his paranoia is like, what's gonna go from, where's that gonna go? And the B&B was cute, like we said. Abby continues to heal. One mysterious character in this episode that I'm like, when are we going to see him again? He was so intimidating, so threatening. Do you remember? Mr. Sullivan, the parole officer.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Luke Tatum's parole officer all of a sudden shows up like Luke did something bad. And I was like, what did he do? What was like,
I know.
How did he break parole?
That was when that came in, I think my heart went up. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, wait, no. We just established Luke is he just needs a little help along the way. He's wanting to get back on his feet and stuff. Please don't tell me he did something wrong. Like I don't know.
Like, what did he do wrong? So that in episode 3, we have Mick, like extending the grace of a second chance, which was just beautiful. But then here we have Mr. Sullivan come in and kind of threatening him with the second chance. He says, I can't always keep giving you second chances.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's bailed him out before or given him second chances before. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just worried that the time is going to come where he's going to be serious about something.
I know.
Oh. Luke's going to get in trouble. So I'm not looking forward to seeing Mr. Sullivan back. I don't know. I don't know if we will or not, but I'm guessing we will.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's probably going to be like the cliffhanger episode.
I know.
Something comes up and then it's just a cliffhanger and then we have to have season 6.
Well, it's the season finale cliffhanger of
Yeah.
Luke, who we all know and love now. Anyway.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. Best-selling author Melody Carlson has enchanted readers with her uplifting Christmas tales for decades. Now she invites fans to journey overseas to the beautiful French Alps in the delightfully romantic Christmas novella about family, love, and a hidden treasure in A Christmas in the Alps. Pick up Christmas in the Alps wherever you purchase your books or use our affiliate link in the description below. For more information on Melody Carlson, please visit her website, https://melodycarlson.com. That's melodycarlson.com.
That leads us into episode 5. Episode 5, called They Can't Take That Away From Me. Listen, this is jam-packed with so many good storylines that I'm afraid we're going to have to go scene by scene. I mean, we shouldn't go scene by scene, but let's do our best here with this episode. It was fantastic.
This was the best episode yet.
Yes.
By far, this was the best episode yet. I mean, first of all, we covered all the O'Briens in some way or fashion. And I mean, like, you know, I understand that we can't always have every O'Brien in the episode, which is fine because, you know, I would rather have depth in a storyline than have them all together. But for somehow they worked it out. And I think it's because they've been building it through each episode up until this point, where when they brought all of them together, it was deep. We got emotional. It was cohesive with the rest of the season. We didn't have any question marks. There wasn't anything left to our own imaginations. It was like everything that they had been working towards up until this point. This was the episode, and I was here for it. I was here for it.
Me too. I was here for it. First of all, we have this adorable little storyline running through kind of the edges of the whole season about this race day, and you forget about it every once in a while, that there's this race to raise money for a new fire truck and everything. Well, this is the episode that race day comes to culmination, but it's not the big event really of the episode. It's really still kind of along the edges and the outskirts, but we see the love for Chesapeake Shores. We see the community coming together, and that's fun. That's classic Hallmark. We love that. But Mick and Megan, I need to talk about Mick and Megan real quick. They kind of open the episode, and they have this cute little banter about, you know, she's concerned with him on the ladder. He wants a tool, you know, she gets him a tool from the box, and then they like casually kiss.
I know.
I was like, are we casually kissing now? Like, when did that become a thing?
Yeah. It happened so fast that I was like, what? I was like, did I miss something? Did they officially become a couple? Like,
I mean, I think they have officially become a couple. 2 episodes ago, Kevin talked to Dad about it. Last episode, Abby talked to Megan about it. I mean, we've heard from both Mick and Megan that, yes, I think we're dating. Yes, we're giving this another shot. But when they like kissed, a very small little peck on the mouth, like they had been married for 40 years, which they have not. I'm like, did they kiss before? Did they kiss before?
I feel like he's kissed her on the cheek.
Oh, they did kiss one time. Was it this season? They kissed.
And I know they had kissed at the end of last season. Everybody was like, wait, what?
Right, they did. They kissed at the end of last season. But I
think I'm still like,
we were casually kissing.
I think the difference though is this is the first time where they kissed on the lips.
Yeah.
Because every other time it's been him kissing her on the cheek or her kissing him on the cheek, which is still, it's different. It's just different. Once you connect those lips, it's like, whoa, DTR, define the relationship here.
I felt like a little O'Brien child, and I was surprised to see my divorced parents kissing again. That's what I felt like in my bedroom when I was watching last night. I was like,
You know, I do hope that they do have, whether it's on screen or off screen, I do hope that Mick and Megan actually sit down and really define their relationship.
I know.
Because it's one thing to talk to your kids about and be like, hey, are you guys cool if your mom
Right.
and I get back together? And
Yeah.
then it's another thing to say, like, I think we're back together. No, I need y'all to know, because I cannot,
Yeah.
this heart of mine cannot handle more marital miscommunications.
Well, this is what this episode brought up to me. It actually brought up so many feelings of they need closure. Mick and Megan need some closure. Jess and Megan need closure. Bree and Megan need closure. Like, we need to start to see some of these conversations that heal their relationship. You know, Jess in this episode kind of spirals in wondering if she's wants kids because she doesn't think she's going to be a good mom. And that whole time she was talking about that, I was like, I need closure for them. They need to sit down and talk about this, you know?
Yeah, you bring up a really great point, especially about Jess, because there's one line that really got me. It's when she says, I didn't really have a mother growing up. And I
Yeah,
was like,
I
oh,
know. I know.
that's
It was so sad, but you know, the right people, like she went to Bree and Bree gave her just some really wonderful advice, which shows that Bree has been there as her sister mother, you know, her whole life. Bree's like, you will know how to do it. You just will love them, Bree. You just will. I mean, Bree said that to Jess. You know, she just was calm and like maybe you didn't have a mother there to show you, but you had so many other people in your life to show you love and give you direction and guidance, and you have it in you, basically, is
yeah.
what she was saying, which was very sweet. But yeah, I thought I need closure. A lot has happened from season 1 to now season 5, and there's some things out there that
Yeah.
would be helpful.
Yeah. I feel like for Bree and Megan, I feel like, and I don't think it was written well, I'll just blanket state it that, but I think that their closure happened with the book. Because, and I think it happened off screen, because
Okay.
Bree writes the book, Megan's really offended by it. Megan and Mick go to Bree and say, this is actually what happened. We don't see any of that.
Yeah.
And from what it seems like right now, as of season 5, it seems like
Yeah.
Bree and Megan they're pretty good. Like, I feel like they are,
That's true.
they're
That's
still
true.
pretty good. We could get a little deeper with their relationship, but I feel like
Yeah.
that was the closure for them.
Yeah.
Now, with Jess and Megan, I would love to see the wedding be a part of that closure.
Yes.
For that, the past hurts, especially just having been really young and maybe not understanding everything completely. But I would like to see that happen, because they had such a terrible relationship early on.
Yeah. And they really haven't had many scenes together this whole season, to be honest. I'd like to see that wedding maybe bring some closure. That would be great. Let's finish talking about Jess here then and her little journey over the episode. She has a very tender, compassionate moment with Sarah, Kevin's wife, who gets emotional about a diagnosis of endometriosis, which means that she may have a difficulty conceiving. So it's hard news to get, but it wasn't, you know, you can't conceive, you can't have children, but you have this obstacle. And she has this beautiful line, Jess does, with Sarah, and she says something like, one way or another, You will find a way to fill your arms with babies.
Mhm.
Did you remember that? That was
I
so
know.
sweet.
I was like,
I know.
so beautiful, especially from a sister-in-law.
Yeah.
Like that's such a unique relationship
Yeah.
because it's not your sibling.
Yeah.
It's not like a parent-in-law, but
Yeah.
it's like a peer who becomes your sister because they
Yeah.
married your brother. And so
Yeah.
it's a very unique dynamic to have.
Mhm.
And so and also for Jess being the youngest
Mhm.
too, she and Sarah probably have a few years between them. And so
Yeah.
just having that instinct to go after her and
Yeah.
just kind of be like, hey, I'm so sorry, did I upset you in any way? Like,
Right.
I didn't mean to. And then Sarah opens up, it was such a tender moment for the
Yeah, it
two of
was.
them.
It was so tender, and it really, it just showed maturity on Jess's part and compassion. But it also kind of started her down a little spiral, wondering if she even wants kids, if she would be a good mother. And she really kind of throws this at David, honestly. She needs to talk about it. You need to talk about this before you get married. You need to
Yeah.
talk about if you want kids or if he wants kids, how many, what contraceptive will we use? Like, you just like, these are important premarital conversations.
Yes.
So I was like, you need to have this. So
Yeah,
she,
I was kind of like, you should have had this conversation like 3 days ago.
I like my little pastor's wife heart wants to go like give them counseling, premarital counseling, like I just want to, let's sit down together and let's talk about a few things. Like,
Yes.
so anyway, so she just throws this at David, really. And he has this response that is unsatisfactory to her. And I'm like, give the man a minute. He just found out that you might not want children. And you say, do you still want to marry me? And he just hugs her. And she said, you didn't answer. And he said, no, I didn't. Like, I just need a minute,
That's kind of a big deal.
It's a big deal.
That is a kind of a big deal. It's not like a puppy. Like, I don't like dogs. Okay.
Well,
like,
here's the thing. It's a big deal. It's okay. It really is okay if you don't want to
yeah.
have children. And it's okay if he needs a minute in that conversation. So it's a big deal in that it's a big conversation to have. And there needs to be grace in having that conversation. Like, I'm going to give you space to process this because we can process it together.
Yeah.
And you end up coming out on a great reconciliation, a great communication side of it. But I'm like, you just give him a minute,
Yeah. Especially because it's just, she doesn't do confrontation well. She's like spinning around in circles all around him. And he's just kind of like, okay, what are you trying to tell me?
Right.
And then then she says, and so of course he's like completely blindsided by this revelation.
Totally.
And so, he did need time to process it. He needed time to just like soak it in. And, sometimes getting news like that, where even if you are completely supportive of your significant other, and even if you're totally okay with their desire or what they want or don't want or whatever, sometimes you just need a minute. Like, you just need to like think.
Right.
And also too, he could be the type of person who just does the opposite and does like all the thinking, like, but why does she not want kids? What happened? Was it me? Is it her? Is it this? Is it that? So it could also be all of those thoughts processing too, where you're kind of like, just you can't say anything.
And sometimes yourself, if you're not going to say the right thing even. So like, give me a minute. I want to process this. I don't want to just be reactionary, because sometimes being reactionary in a relationship or in a conversation, though maybe authentic, it may not always be kind. It's not, we value authenticity, but we also value kindness in a relationship and putting
Mhm.
putting each other, putting their needs before mine and stuff. And that can be a very healthy way to
Mhm.
communicate. And
Yeah.
I thought though it was probably hard for her to not have an answer from him right away, it actually, when she comes back to him, I think it did her a great service in that she really was able to self-reflect, and she came back to
Mhm.
him first and said, "I'm sorry. I apologize that I threw that at you,
Mhm.
I don't really know if I want kids, but maybe I do, maybe I don't, and I just
Mhm.
put you on the spot there." Like, she did a great job coming back and,
Mhm.
apologizing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're so right on all of that,
Well,
because
yeah.
if he would have like flipped out, she definitely wouldn't have. Her guards would have they would have gone right up, and she wouldn't have gone to him. But the fact that he just held her, and he just held her, really,
He held
he was
her.
able to. She was able to like come down from the emotions and then think rationally, because and I think that's why David is good for her, because David is not reactionary. Jess is very reactionary.
Yeah.
This was a reaction from her conversation with Sarah,
Yes.
is
Yes, it
really
was.
what happened. It was like, oh, they may not be able to have kids. What about me? Can I have kids? Oh, what if I don't want kids? And then it's
Right.
just, that's the just way of thinking and doing stuff. And so then she just
Right.
puts it all out. So David is good for her in that way, where he can just kind of take in her reactions,
Yeah.
and just like he releases them, which lets her release them too.
Yes. Yes.
Very,
They balance each other out so well, and they have
yeah.
such a healthy relationship. So
Mhm.
they're fun to watch. So speaking of the inn at Eagle Point, we have a new guest at the inn this episode, and that is Evan Kincaid. Evan Kincaid is a guest at the inn, but he also bought a bungalow on Chesapeake Shores. A large, beautiful bungalow that he is living in, but it's lonely. And so he likes to be at the inn where it's busy, there's people around him, and it feels like family.
This guy, number one, he's an extrovert. Number two, he's got more money than he knows what to do with it. Hey, like, I'm gonna go buy a bungalow and I'm gonna stay at the inn just for fun. Like,
Just to be around people.
like he's basically he's buying people. He's buying
He's buying.
he's buying people to eat dinner with.
Yeah. Now, this is what I love about Evan, though. He's so childlike and he's so innocent in that, like, Abby can't resist this vulnerability that he has. He brings to the
Mhm.
table this vulnerability, a loneliness that he's not really sad about because that's his reality. He's like, "Oh, don't be
Mhm.
sad about that." But she, who knows the depth and richness of this close family, she's
Mhm.
super sad for him. And she, like, can't resist pulling him in and being a little bit of a, you know, just
Yeah.
come in, come join us, be a part of it.
Yeah, she I think this is kind of where her feelings start to kind of change a little bit about Evan. I
Yes.
mean, he is super annoying, as she's mentioned, with her
Yeah.
foot in her mouth and all of that good stuff. But then I think it really turned when she drops him off at his bungalow and she just drives by and she's kind of like, I don't get it.
Yeah. He's
What
he's
is up with this dude?
he's alone and he's like, I think she just realizes something that he's missing that he might not realize yet. And
Mhm.
I think he's in the process of realizing what he's missing as far as people around him and relationships as he meets the O'Briens and has such a great time with them,
Mhm.
Kevin and David at the inn. And he's just loving what they represent. And so
Mhm.
he's starting to get it, I think.
Yeah. Now, has he met all of the O'Briens?
I don't think he has met Bree
I was gonna say I don't think he's met Bree.
or Connor
Yeah, Bree
or
and Connor,
Megan.
because it was just David, Kevin, and Sarah at dinner.
Yeah. And he's met Mick, of course,
Mhm.
and but not Megan or Connor or Bree or Nell.
Okay. So he's got more O'Briens. That was one line that kind of made me laugh. He's like, oh, there's more of you.
Right. I love it.
The O'Briens to go around.
Right. He had some he's just a little puppy dog. He's sweet, he's funny, he's fun. I just love what he brings to this role.
Yeah. He's
So
super
good.
fun.
So speaking of Nell is back. She's back and she looks stunning with her white hair, how she has it. I didn't see bangs. I didn't see Nell's bangs. But she just looks stunning. And of course, a Nell casserole is what is the ticket in to go see Arthur Driscoll.
Yeah.
With Megan.
Don't you love how she just had her hat down and then all of a sudden she like raises it. Hello.
So mysterious. Beautiful lady. Well, that was fun to see her on our screen again. I loved that. Okay. Who's next? I mean, like we said, jam-packed episode. So many people here. Bree.
Yeah, Bree. What happens with Bree here?
Well, let me tell you. Bree and Jerry have a small walk and talk. They often have these walk and talk scenes, and he wants her to come up with a catchy name for her class. And he kind of like asks her out on a date, but then he says, no, it's not a date, and she's like, oh, kind of confused. Well, she's at Sally's now trying to think of a catchy name for her class, and in walks Luke, looking fantastic. And he sits down and thanks her for the job. I think the tip on the job for the bridge. And then they start to
they gotta have this banter.
This flirty banter, role play, funny thing that they do.
They're walking a fine line here with this love triangle, not gonna lie. I know everybody's like, Luke, yes, we all know Steven Uzar is really hot and dashing and whatnot, blah, blah, blah.
Wonderful.
But I'm not gonna lie, I like Jerry. I like him too. I like Jerry. I like Luke. It's just, it really,
yeah.
Now, I think realistically, she'll probably end up with Luke because he's like, quote unquote, the bad boy, quote unquote, with the baggage. And so there are a lot more storylines that you can pull from that.
Yes.
And right now they're not bringing a lot from Jerry, but I'm almost kind of intrigued by him. I'm like,
it would be fun to see more of her and Jerry together. Like, show me some of that nemesis bantering. Show me some of that, let's talk about high school again. Some of those things.
Yeah.
They just kind of glossed over.
I know. And that kind of disappoints me just a little bit. Because I'm like, I live for the frenemy banter.
Yeah.
Especially in a to be love story relationship. I really like the butting of the heads and just this back and forth, and then the teasing and stuff. The stuff that we are starting to see a lot more with Abby and Evan.
Yeah.
So I was kind of sad that they resolved the whole high school Jerry thing so quickly. Yes.
Hopefully maybe they'll bring it back. Maybe they'll have some sort of he'll come on stronger. Like, he asked her for a date, but then he disqualified himself basically and saying, oh, it's not a date,
Yeah.
I was like, Jerry, come on. So here's the thing I find very intriguing about Bree and Luke. Kind of what we said about episode 4. Bree, it doesn't seem like she has any idea that he has a criminal history, that he has a parole officer who comes around, that he fell on any hard times. She just sees him so starry-eyed and put together, and just handed over her number. He asked for her number. She just gave it to him. I mean, what is going to happen when she finds out his history?
This is true. I'm here for it. I'm here for some drama.
I'm here for the drama. The other shoe has got to drop here at some point. I don't know what she's going to do.
She's probably going to put it in her novel, her next one.
Put it in her next novel as
her next novel. Yes. I'm here for it. I just need more. I know we have, well, here's the thing. It's a series, so we have to have a slow burn for it to really set our hearts on fire. Right. So I'm okay that it's not like taking off as quickly. I'm intrigued. I'm kind of like, okay, let's keep going. Once Jess and David are married off, we need another couple to marry off, because we've got Kevin and Sarah who married off last season. Yeah. We got Jess and David. We got to get somebody here in a slow burn relationship.
Somebody. So this is the thing though about Abby and Evan, that this is a very slow burn. If we're gonna I am not feeling any spark, except for they're fun to be together, and I do want them to end up together, but I want to see him mature, his mature side. We've seen his funny, playful, childish side. I'm still a Jay fan. I still like Juicebox Jay. He is so adorable.
No. I know, Juicebox Jay.
He's so good with her kids. He is so steady. He like sees her. He like, I mean, come on, Abby. He is a solid option here for someone to date.
I know. But she friend zoned him. She totally friend zoned him.
Totally did.
Totally did. So Evan and Abby, I feel like we need a ship name. Not that we need to ship all the names, but Abby and Evan. It's too close. It's very hard for me to say. You're right. Something needs to pull them closer. Something needs to pull him. Something deep with Evan. I think it's coming. There's a lot of depth in the season already. I think we're just establishing Evan. I want to say it's probably more of a facade, not in a bad way where he's trying to hide something, like something bad, some deep dark secret, but I don't know, something he's gone through in the past, and so all he knows how to cope with that is to be this frivolous, fun-loving guy who has a lot of money. And feelings are hard, because when you open those feelings up for people who don't like to show feelings, deep feelings, it's like you can't stop it,
Right.
Because I could be a little bit like that, where everything's like either I'm fun, sarcastic, whatever, but when you get like into the deep feelings of myself, like once I start crying, I just can't stop. I'm just like and I'm not saying Evan's gonna be bawling his eyes out. It's just that emotions are hard for some people.
Yeah, and that may be him, and we may need an episode where he gets deep, he gets vulnerable, and so we know that he can match Abby's strength that way, and he's not just a third child she's raising. So that's the issue, I think, sometimes with me and these childlike men, which I think are so fun. But then when you have this strong, career-oriented, super smart, woman, and then you match it with him, like, I think opposites attract, yes, but you need to have that core connection of strength that you respect in each other. So I hope that she finds that in him, if this is the way that we're going.
Yeah. And this one I can't figure out. I don't know I have no idea how they're going to connect later on. Like everybody else, I'm like, okay, Kevin and Sarah, I see how you guys are going to connect later on. Even Trace and Abby, okay, you have that history back then, whatever. Right. Jess and David, same thing. It was just this playfulness, but they were also like in a way. I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, I kind of figured out all these relationships and how they'll probably end up together. But Evan and Abby, that's a different one.
It's a
So
different one to me. Me too. Like,
hmm.
where's this going to go? Here's what I hope. I hope that when it goes somewhere deep, when it goes somewhere with that hull spark, that it's good. I just want it to be good, where it's like, yes,
Yes.
he totally fits in the family. He totally, I mean, I'm getting way ahead of myself because right now, what I think is precious is that each episode, Evan meets a new O'Brien. He
Mhm.
gets a little bit more embedded into the city, the Chesapeake Shores. Like he's really starting to put roots down in a way
Mhm.
that he doesn't even know he's doing it, kind of.
Yeah.
So I think this is a cool progression for him relationally and in character as a character. But give me Abby. I mean, give me something here with him and
Mhm.
Abby. I can't wait. I think it'll
Yeah.
be fun.
It's definitely, now that is a slow burn.
That's the slow burn that we that we're
I mean,
wanting.
we got to make this show last for like, a million seasons. So like,
Yeah.
let's go. And some Hallmark series, it takes people 5 years to propose. So, it's all good. We'll have,
Yeah.
what is this, season 5, 5, 10, season 10, we'll have a
Let's do
relationship
it.
with a proposal with Abby.
Oh boy. Her kids are gonna be married before her, I guess.
I know.
So fun. I love that. I love each time we see Evan on screen, I think he's great. Abby is very compassionate and starting to see him as more than just a annoying colleague with a nice face. So that's great.
Mhm.
Okay, so a couple more characters to talk about here as we wrap up episode 5. Kevin and Sarah. How does their story end up? She's nervous to tell him that she got this diagnosis from the doctor. So what does he do?
I mean, yeah, I mean, we touched a little bit about that with Jess,
Mhm.
but from Kevin's point of view, I mean, Kevin was ready to have a baby like 6 months ago. And so we're setting, they've been setting us up for all of this. And so when she finally tells him, and he's gone through a lot of stress with with
Yes.
Captain.
Oh
And
yeah.
so when she tells him, I mean, he's such a Kevin in that moment. And
Yeah.
he also like holds her, he tells her that, you know what, it's going to work out.
Yeah.
It's going to work out. It doesn't, like, we can adopt a baby.
Yeah.
We can explore all of the options.
Yeah.
And so, um,
Which I
and
love that he went
yeah.
there. And then, but he also says that practical next step, let's get a second opinion,
Mhm.
too, which is also a very hopeful thing to do.
Mhm.
Like a second opinion. There's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with something like endometriosis, because that it's different for every woman. And like, there are some people where um I've known some people who've had that. And so like sometimes they physically cannot have kids because they have to have like a complete total hysterectomy in order to fix the endometriosis. I know some other people who they've had like surgeries done where they clean out like the parts down there, and like they miraculously have a baby. So
Right. Right.
it's one of those things where you go on Google and it's like, sky's the limit, but it's
Well,
also worst case scenario every time on Google. So
well,
for
that's what's
Sarah.
yeah, that's what's so emotional about it for Sarah is that like, she does it feels like this shut the door on you can't have kids, but it's not that. And this doctor who has the second opinion is very calm, very
Mhm.
hopeful. She's like, we'll either do surgery or, you'll be able
IUIs,
to have a baby.
IVF.
Yeah, but try for 6 months and whatever. So she just does such a great job at like giving them hope.
Yeah, which
So
I think is what they needed, and it was a good way to end
yeah,
that
so
part. So
good.
it's
She was
very
so
sweet.
emotional, so good. Her acting was amazing in this episode. She was just like, I mean, just your heart just goes out to her and her grieving of this diagnosis, and she did a great job.
I will be honest, Jessica Sipos, who plays Sarah, she's a very pretty crier. Like anytime she cries, like anything I've seen her in, whenever she's crying, I'm like, I don't know how you make yourself still look so pretty, because when I'm sobbing, I look like a hot mess.
You know, Hollywood, you know.
Yeah.
Just how it goes.
Yeah.
So Kevin, I mean, also he has that real creepy moment where he walks into the captain's house and he sees all these post-it notes and confirms that the captain is having like this early onset memory loss, and it's super dangerous.
Yes, because he almost killed a girl.
Because he almost gave her too much of a dosage of medicine or something, and Kevin caught it. And I mean, it just was really intense.
Yeah, she was, and it was in the
IV.
It was like the IV yeah, it was one of those things where like too much of that, because that's very potent. 3 milliliters?
0.3.
Oh, 0.3 milliliters. He was going to give her 0.6 or something, which is double the dosage.
I mean, Kevin's like, I've got to report this guy. I mean, this is my captain, and I've got to make sure he retires, basically. And the captain agreed. The captain said, I'm going to retire. I am. It's time for me. And well, first he says, I won't go on any more runs. I won't go on anymore, you know. And Kevin's like, that's not enough.
Yeah.
So
that was so sad, because like he lost his wife, right? That was the storyline there. He lost his wife, and then and then he's like losing his memory, and like when Kevin opened the door to the captain's house and saw all of those sticky notes, and it was stuff like, did you check the locks? Did you check the back door? Did you turn off the iron? Did you turn off the stove? It was like everything. And I'm like,
that was heartbreaking.
This man can't live alone. Like, we need to put him in assisted living care so somebody can take care of him and make sure that he's going to be okay, and that he's not going to burn his house down, and that, you know, he's not going to poison himself accidentally. Like, I just felt so bad for Captain.
Well, you see Kevin's tender care of the captain, and you know, his worry, and he's such a helper, and he's so compassionate. He's just really another type of pillar of strength. You know, each O'Brien has their own strength, and his is just his compassionate heart and nature. So he just did beautifully. All of these O'Brien men this episode were just knocking it out of the park. I mean, whether he had a good response to Sarah right away. David, yes, he had to take time, but then he had a good response after, you know, to Jess. Yeah, I just think that they did such a great job.
They really did.
Yeah. Okay, let's wrap up. Let's wrap up with Connor. He again swoops in his lawyer cape, superhero cape, and saves the day.
Okay. Connor, middle name O'Brien, MVP.
Yeah, he was.
Like, what?
Well, this is what you were talking about the last episode, how it like is this, it's slow build up to this climax of this awesome scene where you know, he is super paranoid at work. Keller, his paralegal friend, gives him this tip that someone's going through his desk, his locked desk, and she says something like, well, now that you know that information, you can be in control of what they find, which gets his wheels turning. And so he writes this fake letter about his dad to Abby and stuff. And I mean, the way that he just kind of orchestrated all of this, he played his law firm for a fool.
He did. He played those suckers, man. And I was like, and of course, like the whole time I'm like, this is a total setup, and they are buying it hook, line, and sinker.
Totally hook, line, and sinker. And I mean, that was a great scene. I watched it like a couple times. I just thought it was awesome because you look at Mick's face when she's reading this letter, this incriminating, what seems like an incriminating letter that
Mhm.
Connor writes to Abby, but it's this fake letter. And I'm looking at Mick's face like, does he know that this is fake?
I know. I was like, he has to know this is fake.
He's got to know. And I think he does because the three of them really team up, Abby and Connor
Mhm.
and Mick, to sit, like they sit at the table and Mick says something
Mhm.
like, um, they should have known better to mess with the O'Briens or something like
Mhm.
that. Like, it's just such a great line. So it just goes exactly the way that Connor wants it to go.
Man's brilliant. Not
Yeah,
gonna. I mean, he sends himself a certified letter.
yeah.
Wasn't it like
Notary.
notarized or
Yeah,
something like
notarized. Yeah,
that? And so, like, I he went through he went to a lot of trouble for that,
he
but
did.
it worked because it proved that somebody was going through his desk, somebody was spying on him
Hmm.
to see what they can find out, what kind of dirt they can find out
Hmm.
on his dad, and just the way it was played and the way he had it all planned out, and he's like, and this is the proof you need to know that Dilford did forge. Here are some other companies that he messed around with and who also found fake documents.
Right.
Also, I found out you guys just all prove that you were going through my desk, which is also illegal, blah, blah, blah. And here's my resignation letter.
Here's my resignation. He storms out, mic drop, storms out. Mick gets up and he can't help himself. And he turns around, he's like, that's my son, the lawyer. He's so proud of him in that moment. I mean, it is just so, so fun to see another great
Mhm.
Connor lawyer moment.
Yes.
Then
And that's the moment we've been waiting for Mick to finally be proud of Connor.
I love them. I want to see more. I want to see more. I've gotten 2 great scenes. I so appreciate it. I love them, but I want to see more Connor in action as a lawyer. He's so
Yes.
good. Mick encourages him to possibly open his own practice in Chesapeake
Mhm.
Shores.
Yeah,
Do you think he is going to do that and he will take Keller with him?
that would not surprise me because he kind of says it kind of off the cuff, kind of as a joke, like, am I going to go back to Chesapeake Shores? Because I'm sure Connor's probably, he reminds me the type of person who's like, I'm going to move away from home and all of this stuff. And he's like, yeah, to Baltimore, 2 hours away.
Right.
That's away from home. But, Chesapeake Shores, they just keep calling people back.
He's got to go back. I think he's definitely going to go back.
Yeah.
But I want to see more of Margaret Keller. I want her to go with him. He's got to give her that.
I do too. They're so good together. They are such a good team.
Yeah.
And especially when they were walking out of the office and she was just like, it was like almost like a high five moment.
I
She's
know.
like, you got this? Yeah, I got this. Okay, cool. So she totally knew what was going on without actually knowing for sure.
Right.
But yeah, I need more of her. She's so great. She is so great.
She's a great character. And I think they do have trust and it would be fun. When he quit, I was like, oh, this can't be the end of Margaret Keller. So that's my hope, is that he will poach her and take her, make her a real lawyer, at his practice at Chesapeake Shores. But all right. So the episode ends with this big race, which they didn't have to give us, but they did. And I thought it was so fun that we see who's running, who's swimming, who's riding the bike, who wins this race. So hilarious. And then of course it's the girls, it's the sisters who win.
Of course. Yeah, it's when I talked to Barbara Niven, she was telling me that she really enjoyed bike riding. So
really?
so that was kind of fun.
That is fun that she got to do it in this one. That's great.
Yeah, I was like, wait, is that, oh, that's Megan on the bike.
I couldn't tell what team Megan was on because it's a team of 3. And of course we had the sisters in one. We had David. David, Kevin, and Connor on another team.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't tell who she was racing with, but that didn't matter. That was just kind of
Probably some of her
some of her,
Sally's friends.
yeah, just some of her friends. But that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
So I love ending these episodes with an iconic moment, family dinner out on the porch. Raise your wine glass. Let's toast to, toast. Yeah, raise your coffee mug. We're toasting to Abby, who's the maid of honor now at Jess's wedding. We're toasting Bree, who's the officiant, I guess.
Yes.
And we're toasting the A team, Abby and Connor. And it's just a great family moment that I just love on this show.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. You can't have Chesapeake Shores without a good old family dinner.
You can't. It's
on the
too
porch.
good.
No.
So good. Well, you guys, that is a wrap for episodes 4 and 5.
Yes.
Jessie's, we want to hear what you think. What do you think of season 5 so far, but specifically these 2 episodes? Do you have a favorite character that's rising to the top? Do you have a scene that you just love so much? Do you have a line that was great? I mean, the writing in this season is so good. The lines are just catching me as people are saying these things. So Chessies, we want to hear from you. So write a comment on the YouTube page if you're watching YouTube. Leave a rating on iTunes if you're listening there. And of course, be sure to follow Hallmarkies podcast all over social media. We will be back in 2 weeks to cover 2 more episodes, the big wedding and whatever comes after that. We will cover both of those.
Yes.
So yeah, come back and join us and listen to our recaps on what is turning out to be the best Chesapeake Shores season so far. No joke. It is so good. Kaycee, thank you for joining me tonight. Where can people find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter at Hallmark My Words. And I have one thing to add.
Yes.
So there is a little Easter egg that they've shown a little bit throughout the season so far, and I don't think we'll see it again. So if you know what I'm talking about, what this Easter egg could be, tiny Easter egg, it jumped out at me, so I thought I'd share. Let us know on Twitter if you know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely, let us know the Easter egg. I'm curious because I'm not sure if I know. So it'll be fun to see what everyone thinks. But yeah, definitely come find me at Hallmark Comics on Instagram. I'd love to interact with you there. But otherwise, we will see you in 2 weeks for more Chesapeake Chats. Bye, guys.
Woo! Bye, guys.